I hold in my hands a copy of a poster of the Guardians 2026 schedule. We don't need it. We're talking playoff baseball. For the Guardians, they do the improbable. They come back and they win the AL Central only the this team knows how.
Tanner Bobby of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Guardians. Pop your bubbly. Did all 9 already? This is Locked On Guardians, the only place to talk Cleveland Guardians baseball 5 days a week, from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between about your AL Central Division champs, the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your AL Central champs, Cleveland Guardians, every single day. I'm Justin Lada. This is my third year co-hosting this podcast with my friend and co-host Jeff Ellis, and I've spent 18 summers covering the Guardians minor league system for multiple outlets, and I've never had as much fun as this.
As you mentioned, I am Jeff Ellis, one of your two co-hosts here, one of the original Locked On Baseball hosts. Before that, I was national writer at Scouting 24/7, focused on prospects and the draft. I want to thank all of our everydayers out there joining us each and every day, win or lose, even though it's mostly winning of late. Shout out, we asked for iTunes reviews, so shout outs to Cavs Tribe Browns, Mo Norwalk, and Simpleman52. Thank you for giving us some updated iTunes reviews. It's always a good thing to get a few every month. And Abel Archer, I believe, had a nice comment in the YouTubes as well. So shout out. And I want to thank you for making today's podcast your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. The Rally Dino also thanks all of you as well.
Yes, thank you, David Yoder, for coming through clutch with the shirts. We didn't win Friday, we met up, but it worked the next 2 days. All right, before we get moving today, I want to talk about what we're gonna go through today. So we'll talk a little bit about round 5, Guardians Tigers in 2025, and all of that fun stuff ahead. We'll kind of go through just the month this has been for the Guardians, and how could you not be having fun with this team? And we'll start off talking about the Guardians made history, unlike anything anybody has ever done before. Before we jump into all of it, today's episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. As if you needed more energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to the number 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. I've given up. We were all mad on Friday about Stephen Vogt's lineup. I know Friday it didn't work out at all as far as the game. Or was it Saturday? It was Saturday.
More Saturday. It was more Saturday.
Saturday, Friday was just not a good night, but we were all up in arms about that. I think we have to remember we've gotten to a point this year. You might as well just not question it. It may not look pretty. It may not make sense to you, but somehow it just works. And I think what I've learned the most this year about baseball is I don't know anything. I don't know anything. And I am perfectly okay with it, because if I did know everything, this would have been a very boring season. And yes, we had a very rough 5-month stretch. I was just looking at the schedule before we started recording, and the Guardians won 20 games in the month of September. They went 20-7 in the month of September. They won 23 games in June and July, 23 combined. They won 3 more games over the course of 8 weeks than they did the final 4 weeks of the season. That is just ridiculous. And when you win that much in the course of a 1 month, like, that's the best month of baseball we've witnessed, I think, since 2017. Am I wrong?
I'm top of my head, I can't think of anything to compare to it. It's just, it's amazing what they were able to do over the course of this past month. It's like, they showed some stats after the game today that just all the ways they were, successful, and all the ways they were able to get it together and have a run like this. And, I thought, like, this final series was such a microcosm for the actual season. Because I know throughout the year we talked about the city of the negative run differential, and they did end with the negative run differential. And 2 teams have won the World Series with the negative run differential. But why did it happen? They won 2 out of 3 games. They had a negative run differential for the series, I believe, because they win these close games, these great games, they can trust their bullpen, everything else, and then they randomly have those real big stinkers where there's a bigger gap. And yeah, they just keep finding ways. Or after the Messick problem, and then Allen today, in between you got Cantillo doing another 5+ innings, less than two runs or less type of start. So just a lot of great performances. And then the big thing you and I have talked about is they kind of needed Mr. Right Now throughout this season. And in the early half, there was not a Mr. Right Now. And we just had, over the last month, there was always someone stepping up.
Yeah, they had a lot of Mr. Right Nows the month of September. It was mostly the starting pitchers. But everybody, when they scored the runs, it was always somebody different. We'll talk a little bit more about that in segment 2. But I just want to point out, how great it is that we talked on Friday about how this team was going to stay the course. They were never going to quit. They were never going to give up, and we knew that they weren't going to back in. And I got to be honest, Friday night was a little bit rough, and when they fell behind on Saturday, I was like, oh, man, I really, really don't want to get 2005 vibes. I was starting to get there a little bit. I was like, this feels a little bit like 05. I was getting a little nervous. And Robert Garcia has never hit a batter in his career.
His whole life.
Whole life. Well, I'm
Long
sure
career.
At some point. Maybe in the minors or before that. But never as a Major League Baseball player has he hit a batter. So what does he do? Of course, he hits CJ Kafis to bring in the winning run that clinches the Guardians' playoff spot. Never before has a team ever clinched a playoff spot on a walk-off hit by pitch. That's never happened before either. But you know what else, Jeff? Nobody's ever come back from 15 and a half games back to win a division championship in the 3 division era at the very least. Probably even longer than that. I don't know the exact dates, but at least in the 3 division era. That just, and then again, they didn't back in like that. Yes, they had to grind and claw and scratch their way back in on Saturday, and it was not pretty, but what a bookend, right? The home opener this year was a walk-off walk by Nolan Jones. So why not, CJ Kafis, a walk-off hit by pitch? Why not? And then Sunday, why not walk it off with Brayan Rocchio, of all people, who started the year at shortstop, got sent down, had to come back as the second baseman. And the fact that they were up and they were tied and then they were down again. And it's just, this team is just ridiculous. You just expect the unexpected with this team. There's not any rhyme or reason for what's happening when you look at the stats, when you look at the names in the lineup. There's not any rhyme or reason. And it just works. The pitching makes it work, and they find ways. This team has no business being in the playoffs on paper. But, we love stats, and we want to look like, I remember back early in the year, I said this team hasn't played its best baseball yet. They were not pitching well. They were making errors. Certain guys weren't hitting, whatever. And we're like, oh, the best baseball's ahead of them. Had no idea what we were going to go through the whole summer. And that's why games aren't played on paper. They're played by people, and things happen that you can't record on paper, like leadership. I know that's such a cliche, but how else do you explain this?
Can I also say that apparently Fox didn't do the research because we all took their TV. According to Baseball Reference, Robert Garcia hit a batter with Washington in 2024. So
was that the only batter, or was that just the last time he hit a batter?
That's the only one he hit in the big leagues. He actually hit 11 batters his last year at UC Davis. So he was a bit of a wild man then and hit guys throughout the minors. But remember, this is a guy who really has only been in the big leagues for 3 years. So limited innings. But yeah, they apparently couldn't look on Baseball Reference to see that he had a hit batter literally last season. Fox News broadcast.
Thanks, Fox, for that. Yeah.
Or Fox broadcast. Fox Sports broadcast, I should say.
All right. So he hadn't hit a batter all year at the very least.
Yes, not this year. He has one hit batter this year. One last year and one this year.
And the Guardians didn't have to play to win that game, by the way. They knew the Tigers had lost. And they kept Zach Kenton. He gave up the home run to Rowdy Tellez, who, by the way, has made a...
You mean today? Yeah. Today's game.
Yeah, has made a career out of killing the Guardians.
He really has.
But they came back and they found a way to win. We're going to talk more about this win this weekend, this run back to the playoffs before we start looking ahead to the playoffs. Because, man, I just am loving this run, and I can't let it end. So we're going to talk more about that. And I got some old videos we're going to go through and make me look stupid, as if that was already even more possible. All right, stick around. We got a lot more to come. Well, we all need a lot of energy. I think we all exhausted from this weekend of baseball. We're going to be exhausted from playoff baseball. So if you need some caffeine to pick you up, you need caffeine with the flavor upgrade 5-hour energy shots. It is tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. 2-ounce shots. They pack the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients. 0 sugar, 0 crashes. They're portable. Put one in your backpack to go to the game with you. Take it before you go into the ballpark for these playoff games. So you are hyped and you are ready to deliver and scream your voice out. And hopefully the Guardians keep this run going. We're all going to need energy this week. The baseball sucked the energy out of me this weekend. Somehow I'm still going. I'm going to get some for this playoff series. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. Time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold. Try something new in the store, online at the number 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today.
This episode is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 8 great flavors with 2 milligrams and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. I actually gave away the nicotine ones to a vapor I know to try to help them out, but I'm going to show, I don't have the bag to show right now, but I do have all my Zippix here in the nice little Zippix tube. And while I'm holding the Rally Dino, it's hard, but as you can see, I have them in here. And why are they all in here, not in a bag? Because I am using this product. This is a product since they said it to us. I had one today. I didn't have coffee and said I did a toothpick. I know someone told me I need to cut down on my 4 to 5 cups a day, so I'm using the Zippix to help me drink a little less. So go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use the code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks.
All right, thank you for being here with us on today's episode of Locked On Guardians. We're going to be here with you all through the playoffs. Of course, we're never taking a day off here on Locked On Guardians. I was even live for the ballpark Saturday night. I did 2 reaction videos on Sunday. 1 when they clinched and 2 when they had the walk-off win because it was just so miraculous. So if you want all those videos sent right to your phone, hit the bell on YouTube to make sure you always get those. You can auto-download on all of your audio podcast platforms as well, so you never miss an episode. And hey, great time for you to be an insider too. We've been talking with the insiders all weekend long about this series, about who's pitching, who's not pitching, the roster, just this miraculous run. That is joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. Exclusive things like mailbag episodes, all that kind of stuff as well over there. Jeff, a lot has changed this year throughout the year, and it's changed in a very short amount of time. How much has it changed? Well, I'm going to go back and we're going to play some old videos from this season, some old post-game reactions to show you how much things have changed from the month of July to the month of September. I make no apologies for how bad it was because things have done a total 180 since. They say when you go to a baseball game, there's a good chance you're going to see something you've never seen before. Very true on Sunday for the Cleveland Guardians. Justin Lada of Locked On Guardians, and the Guardians, they're creative. I'll give them that. They're finding new ways to lose every day. When you lose 10 in a row, you got to get creative about it, right? You can't just win 2-1 every single day. You got to do something different. You're 1 out away from a win. You had your first run in 24 innings. You had your first lead since last week against the Cardinals when you had a 6-run inning. A wild pitch lets the Tigers score in the 9th inning with 2 outs. They had 1 hit all game up until that point. You get to extra innings. Kate Smith allows the first home run he's allowed all year to a hitter, Trey Sweeney, who's never hit a home run off a fastball in his career. I've been saying that this can't be as bad as 2012, which is the last time Cleveland baseball's been this miserable. But you want to know what? They are 2 games away from matching their franchise worst losing streak at 12. They're 10 in a row right now, and they get Hunter Brown on Monday, so I don't see how it's going to get any better. And then they IL'd Lane Thomas on Sunday and brought up Will Wilson, who was definitely help. I don't know where the bottom is, guys. I don't. Send your flowers, send your fruit baskets, stick the fork in it. This thing is over. It's done. This team is not coming back from this. It's not. They do not have it to come back from this. We're going to keep watching the games for you. We're going to keep you informed of what's going on so you don't have to be miserable. Tune in to Locked On Guardians. We'll take the hit for you. Well, I hope you didn't tune out because of me, because you missed one heck of a ride.
And they took care of Hunter Brown in that game as well.
They swept that series. I mean, things didn't get immediately better after that, but they got better quickly after. And
well, I mean, that was kind of the turnaround, wasn't it? That was
it was.
And they even talked about that today. I think when they're talking to Voter during the celebration of or maybe it was Albernez or maybe it was Willis. I can't remember. One of the coaches brought up that series as the turnaround point.
Yeah, Vote said that. And do you want eulogy number 2? I delivered 2 eulogies this year to this team. You want the second one?
Sure.
Emmanuel Clase not pitching for the Guardians for a while. Not because he's been traded, because he is now in the non-disciplinary paid leave, as he is now also tied to the gambling ring that Luis Ortiz is suspended for as well. So he is going to be out until August 31st. We don't even have a date on Luis Ortiz, but Clase is out until at least August 31st due to this non-disciplinary paid leave list. So the Guardians can't trade Emmanuel Clase now. He's not going anywhere. He can't play for them. This team is going to have to sell. I don't think they can trade Quan, but Clase can't pitch for them until August 31st. Assuming he's cleared, we have no idea what's going on with Ortiz. It is interesting that Ortiz and Clase are very close friends since Ortiz was traded here. This is really confusing, really not good. This really upends the Guardian season. I can't see a world where they can survive without Clase as their closer and the uncertainty this brings. But this is a major, major issue in the clubhouse now with the organization. This goes really deep with these two. Hard to see where things go next for them, but hopefully nobody else is tied to this, because this is just getting uglier by the news minute. And I don't know what's going to happen at the trade deadline, but the Guardians season, this feels very upending for them now, and hard to see where things go from here. We'll cover it on Locked On Guardians tomorrow. I don't know where things have gone since then, Jeff. I don't know. They've gone to the playoffs. They've gone to the most ridiculous run of all time. I mean, did I say anything wrong back then? The 10-game losing streak. Now, granted, that was July. There's a lot of things that could have changed since then. But the closer, who you're muted, so clearly you're saying I'm not wrong.
I was always saying it's not as bad as 12. And when people saying it's the worst stretch ever, that's one thing I was always guys, I experienced the 80s. Guys, do you forget what Manny Acta was like? This stinks, but this was a team. This was a team that, had been there all along, and but it had good stretches, and then we're having a really bad stretch. Don't get me wrong. It was terrible, and I understand why I went, but I was I guess I never went quite as dark as you. I definitely had my moments, don't get me wrong, but I was I didn't think they would go on this run. I didn't think they'd unseat the Tigers, but, I never thought they were as bad as 12. And then the Clase thing, I don't know. It sucked. There's no way around it, and it had a massive negative effect. And I wanted to feel like the season could be done at points with that, just because I don't know how you recover. But at the same time, I didn't want them to sell. I was always saying that, don't trade Quan. Even when before class, I was I guess I always we had those debates on air here, and I was I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't trade him. It's too hard to replace him. If not this year, you'll need him next year. And I guess part of me always had some small degree of hope, because I was never tear this thing down to the studs and start over. I was always anti-trade off your pieces. I was even fighting you on trading Bieber, which I got wrong. For anyone out there being I'm trying to count everything as win. I was I don't think you trade Bieber. I think you hold on to him, because you might get more if he pitches well down the stretch. And I think they made the right call 100% there, because how good the pitching staff was without him anyways. But yeah, the one thing I'll say is it was as bad a baseball as I've experienced in the last 2 years, but I still had some small hope.
The Guardians had as little of a chance to win the AL Central 2 weeks ago. It was 99.9% to the Tigers. 99. 2 weeks ago! 15 days!
Takes one team being really good and one team being really bad.
It sure does. And that was a fun month of baseball to follow. We'll talk more about that next. We'll talk about round 5 between those two teams coming up next.
You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there that it's hard to know which ones are going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplemental brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. And now Nutrafol is the official hair growth partner of Major League Baseball. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified, the gold standard and third-party certification supplements. Peer-reviewed, huge words for me in here. Dermatologist recommended. I like things that are science-based. I like that we have multiple things here that are science-based. I understand, and we know Major League Baseball is very careful about what people put in their bodies. So the fact that they back Nutrafol says a lot. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off their first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. That's Nutrafol.com. Promo code LOCKEDON.
Man, I'm so sad this month ended. Like, I'm excited for playoff baseball, but I'm so sad that it ended because this is really the most fun I've had in a month. We had a lot of fun last year, right? Like, the Guardians were really good most of the year. They had, kind of their issues around the All-Star break in August where things got ugly and the Royals almost caught them. But they picked things back up in September.
That series in Milwaukee always stands out because I went to all of them. So
yeah,
it was a bad series.
Put out in 2 or 3 of them or something.
Yes, and I always remember the random reporter asking Gavin Williams, well, what type of pitcher, like, I kind of want to ask him it now, like, do you view yourself as like a back end starter, a number 2? Like, it was the weirdest question I've ever seen, and I've spent time in the minors, so there's weird questions. I just kind of want to ask him. So, Gavin Williams, if you could tell that reporter from a year ago who asked you what type of pitcher you see yourself as, can we now tell him ace?
We could tell him game 1 starter of the AL wildcard series. That's what you can tell him.
Yep.
I think that's what's going to happen. But I just want to point out one more time before we move on to the playoffs. Like, again, I know this was a 5-month slog for most of the year. Like, they were over 500 in April, and they had a negative run differential that month, and it seemed like things just weren't adding up, and we kept feeling like they had their best baseball in front of them, and we had no idea that they were going to have as bad of a June and July as they had. All right, they were over 500 in July, but June is pretty cool.
July was solid.
June was the only month this year they were under 500, but none of us knew what was coming in September, and it's just that this team has done things I've never seen. Like, again, the 22-game winning streak in 2017 was one of the most fun months of my life watching baseball every single day. And it got to a point during this stretch too. I know they didn't win that many consecutive games, but it felt like every time you just expected them to win. And then it got hard. They lost to the Tigers in Game 3. The Rangers came out. Give credit to the Rangers. They didn't roll over and just let the Guardians win. Like, that's a team that came out this weekend with nothing to play for, and they went out and did it. Maybe they were excited to help Houston lose, but they sure didn't show it because they played hard every game this series. It was not easy, but this team has never done anything easy this season, to say the least. And I have hope for the October. I think we'll get more into it tomorrow, but like, I know people are going to say, well, are they going to do anything in October? I have some reasons I think there's for hope. We'll talk about that tomorrow, but I just want to say, like, that was such a fun month, and if you weren't enjoying yourself, like, those were well-pitched ball games. I know a lot of people love offense, but pitching staff was incredible. The bullpen kept it together. I don't know how this bullpen kept it together the way they did, but they did, even though they didn't have a couple key pieces from this season.
Yeah.
Didn't turn out the way we thought at all. Like, that was a
They're
great
down. I mean, you and I viewed them as maybe having 5 horses to start the year in the back of that pen, and they only had 2 left by the end. One suspension, 1 hurt, and 1 ineffective.
He's not suspended. He's not suspended. He can't play baseball in the major leagues, but yeah,
Well, the Guardians are paying him to not play. That's just one of the great ironies.
Well, that's a rule. That's a rule. It is a
know.
rule. But yeah, I mean, just the weekend, the way they capped it off, like they capped it off in the most Guardians way possible. Like they beat Tarek Skubal in a ridiculous way.
Yeah.
They beat the Rangers on Saturday in a ridiculous way, and they like it's been a day. Like Bo Naylor has turned it up this month. Brayan Rocchio at that hit. Like George Valera had a great month. Like
today was like it would have been so easy to just shut it down, right? Like it would have been so easy to be like, we've already
the seventh
clinched
inning,
it.
they knew. Yeah, they knew who won.
You know, and you and I were texting like they got it. It's very easy. And then especially like, okay, so you give up the home run in extra innings and you're like, okay, well, this one's done. But to sit there and everyone is still going for the win. You know, Naylor runs out that double. You know, obviously Halpin has a great at bat. And then Rocchio just hitting off the like it's that thing. There's
Johnathan Rodriguez made us look stupid all weekend instead of Stephen
outside of the defensive plays with Rodriguez today. We saw why you kind of want him more as a DH than an outfielder if you can get away with it. But you know, you need that. You need Mr. Right Now, and we hadn't seen a Mr. Right Now until like until July. We started to see it. Angel Martinez had some moments. You know, there was points Bo Naylor, Gabby. Like we've seen a lot of guys kind of step up for short. Rocchio, you know, was that guy, and then he was struggling mightily until this series. So yeah, it's just they were not as as terrible as the statistics ended up showing, because you know if you watch them every day, you knew that some of those games are blowouts, some of those games were miserable to watch, but if you got rid of the highs and the lows, you just saw a solid team throughout the course of the year, and that starting pitching, especially down the stretch, just carried them forward.
It did. And also want to point out, I didn't realize this. I was at the game Saturday, but I was so like locked into what was going on in the field, which I should have known this, but I was so focused on the pitch to pitch. I didn't realize that all of that comeback on Saturday night started with 2 outs. Like Johnathan Rodriguez, the 2-out walk, Kyle Manzardo, the 2-out bloop. They walked Arias to load the bases. Like I did not realize that I think it was Martinez and Jose that started that inning off. Like I didn't even realize that. So this team down to their final whatever, they always scrap to the end. That's why I have hope for October. Let's talk a little bit about October. So, for context, I think this is the way the rotation is going to play out. I think we're going to get Gavin in Game 1 versus Skubal. You'll get a rematch in Game 2 of Bybee versus Flaherty, and then Game 3 will be Mize versus Cantillo, because both of those guys pitched on Saturday, so they'll be on their regular rest come Game 3 if it gets there. I think the playoff roster, honestly, is a pretty easy way to set up. Logan Allen can't pitch during the series, so he won't be on the roster. I think you move Slade Ciccone and Parker Messick to the bullpen. I think Rodriguez, Noel, and Petey Halpin all make it. Schneemann and Martinez make it. You got, obviously Hedges and Bo, and you got Kafis, Manzardo, Rocchio, Arias, Jose, Schneemann, Martinez. And
probably just Kent and Allen who aren't there, right?
I think Kent and Allen are probably the only guys that come off the roster that get you back to 26. I think that's a pretty easy way to go. Because you'll keep Junis, you'll keep Allard, you'll move. Heron might be a question, because do you keep Messick or do you keep Heron? Messick's never been out of the bullpen before, but he gives you some emergency length if you need it.
Well, are they they're at 28 men right now, right?
They're at 30 right now. The roster's 20. I'm sorry, no, you're right. They're at 28. The roster goes to 26. Yeah.
Yeah. So you only need to take 2. So that's why I think Allen.
If you're Allen and Kent, yeah,
and then you're done.
But do you use Messick or Heron though? Like you could, I guess they both make it. You're saying?
I think they both make it, because it helps you.
You don't need as many pitchers, yeah.
Yeah, and it helps you then, like too. You can very specifically, like, I know there's
Valera makes it, yeah.
But there's the 3-hitter role, but it's only 3 hitters or the end of an inning. So like you could have some moments in there where, especially after your starter goes, you could target a Kerry Carpenter with a lefty, and you don't care if Tim Heron sees one batter. You don't care if Parker Messick sees one batter. You can go after some guys in that moment.
I wouldn't use Messick with one batter. I would probably do it more with, like, Cole. Can we give some flowers to Colby Allard? I know you and I expected him this year to not continue to perform,
fall apart, yeah.
But man, that guy got he got some big outs in this game on Sunday.
He did.
All year long. I got to be honest. If they use Colby Allard against Kerry Carpenter, I have confidence that he's going to do it. I really do. I don't think I said that all year, but I really do. He's come a long way this year. they didn't use anybody big from the bullpen on Sunday to win. Like it was Allen.
Well, it's because they used them all on Saturday. None of them were allowed to pitch.
They did, yeah. But I mean, they it worked out. It worked out, and those guys came through. I know Zach can't get the home run, and Festa allowed an unearned run because of the defense. That's the thing is I think they got to clean up the defense. That's the biggest thing going into Tuesday is the defense has to be clean. That's how they won this whole stretch. They pitched well and they played good defense. So that's got to be key. So that's why you need a guy like Petey Halpin on the roster to play some defense because at the end of the game you can put Schneemann in right and Petey in center, and with Quan in left, that's a pretty nice defensive outfield. You make sure Kafis is or Noel. I'd probably say Kafis at first to end the game, and your defense is pretty surefire at that point. And if anybody makes a mistake, then put your best foot forward.
Yep. No, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty cut and dry roster for the first round. You're right. So Allen and Kent go off because you don't need them, and you'll have plenty of length. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see how these two teams match up because the Tigers, they did back in. They lost on Friday and Sunday. They blew it on Friday, and then Sunday they also they didn't really care. It's interesting to me too that neither of these teams seem to like. I'm not saying they didn't care because obviously the Guardians played their hearts out to come back and win the way they did, but the way they managed the roster that day, their lineups and their pitching rotation, neither team was neither team went all out to win the division.
No,
they
not at all.
both realized that we want our roster set for game one on Tuesday. I had someone on Twitter debating me that it was more important to have Gavin Williams get him home field. And I was like, no, it's more important to be ready for game two or game one on Tuesday.
Yeah,
both teams treat it that way.
All teams did. Boston did as well. Like every team treated.
Yeah, Boston didn't put their best foot forward either in terms of their roster. All right, Jeff, anything to add, or we tell people we'll be back tomorrow with the full episode or full series preview?
Yep, tomorrow we will go deep. I guess we won't be talking about pitching chaos. Maybe, maybe not. It'll be interesting to see.
And pray for rain.
Yeah. But
it's gonna be a lot of fun. Hope you've had a lot of fun on this run. We have, and I appreciate all the comments from everybody. We appreciate all the comments from everybody saying that they've enjoyed this run with us, and we've made it more fun for them. And that's what we want. We want to make this more fun for you because that makes it more fun for us. And thankfully, the Guardians have made it more fun for everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah,
it's we're spoiled, right? Like most teams. Fan bases don't know what it's like to get to the postseason 8 out of 10 years. It's a fun thing we get to keep experiencing. And hopefully you're having fun experiencing this show. Rate and review, comment below. Tell us what you enjoyed most about this season. Thank you all for joining us as always. And go Guardians, go.